All right, and we are recording this session. Hello and welcome to today's webinar presentation entitled AI and SEO, Google's new generative search experience. It's actually called the Search Generative Experience. Is here. I got access to it last Thursday. And we'll be showcasing this new experience. So I'd love for our audience, if you want me to use one of your target SEO keywords when we test that tool, please plug it into the chat, right? I'd like to make this as applicable to our audience today as possible. So if you would like me to show you what the search result will look like in this new experience, please plug in the keyword that you would like for me to test. All right. So that being said, my name is Chris. I'm the founder of Boulder SEO Marketing, started as a local SEO company, gosh, about 12, 13, 14 years or something like that ago. Soon grew the business when I'm working with companies all over the US and as well as internationally. I'm originally from Switzerland, moved here in '96, Boulder, Colorado, absolutely love it. And I speak globally about SEO and AI and absolutely love it. It's a very exciting field to be in. Daniel, enough about me. Who are you?
Very quickly, so I'm originally from Brazil, went to the University of Miami, and ever since I've been essentially running agencies. So before joining forces with Chris, I used to manage a website design agency in Los Angeles. And when I moved to Colorado, we joined forces, and my central focus is managing the team and making sure that our agency is delivering on all of the things that we promise that we're going to be delivering on. One of the things that's really cool about, Chris and I is that Chris is really the visionary. His job is to be out there understanding what the trends are, understanding what, where the industry is going. And that information comes down to me where we kind of apply it to our deliverables for all of our clients. So that's a little bit on me.
Cool. Thank you. Yeah, so the Google's new search generative experience is here. I signed up for it, gosh, about 2 weeks ago, and then I was thrilled when I got access to it on Thursday, May 25th. So I had a little bit of time to play around with it. I do recommend, I recommend everybody go to labs.google.com, sign up, get into the wait list. It's definitely worth it, especially if you are a SEO professional, if you're with an SEO agency, right? You want to have a competitive advantage over our other competitors, because I'm already seeing what's working, how we're going to update our SEO strategy. This will launch globally, I believe, at the beginning of 2024. So if you're an SEO professional, don't wait until then. It's going to be too late. I already see patterns that will help us to claim those top positions. And I'll talk more about that. But absolutely, one key takeaway from this webinar, go to labs.google.com and sign up for this new experiment. All right, so we do have a fairly packed agenda here. Quick warning, this is going to be a wild ride. We're going to cover a lot of information in a relatively short amount of time. We try to make this a 45-minute webinar because I think that's time that people can carve out of their day. We may go a little bit over when we get to the Q&A, but we're going to record this. We're actually recording this webinar. So if you need to bolt early, do not worry. We're going to send you the link to the recording. So these are all the things that we're going to try to cover here in this short amount of time. If you have any questions, plug them into the chat interface in Zoom here. All right. And then very exciting, we're doing a in-person half-day workshop June 7th in Denver, and also via live stream to a global audience. We're going to send you information in the follow-up email, including a little discount code that you can use to sign up for this hands-on workshop. It's going to include strategies on how we're going to optimize for Google's new search generative experience. So if you have time, if you're around, I highly recommend you join us next week, June 7th. All right, that was my sales pitch. Well, the future is here, right? This is Astro. It's Amazon's, basically upgrade from Alexa. I'm not going to say it too loud. It's already listening to me over there. But soon people are going to have one of these things roaming around in their homes, right? So this is a device that is feeding on content, right? Instead of talking to something that's currently sitting on the kitchen island over there, this thing is following me around. I can ask it, hey, what's the weather going to be? What is this and that, right? Essentially, this is a search engine on steroids and something that's going to assist us in daily tasks. So if we think about, the whole SEO space and AI space, everything is going to change. I would say within the next 2 years or so, we're going to see dramatic changes on how we're going to interact, consume content. So this is just the beginning. I'm actually very excited about it. And I can't wait to see what's going to happen in this space here. If you want to know more about what's going to happen or what's happening with AI, I do recommend head over to YouTube and search for Scale AI, Transform X 2022. This was a conference that was held in the Bay Area. I watched every session. I watched about 80 hours just to know everything there is to know what's going on with AI. So if you want to be in the loop, I highly recommend watch the recordings of these sessions here. It's a bit overwhelming, but well worth it to spend the time investigating AI. All right, so let's dive into this presentation. Let's take a look at the big picture overview. What's the current state of SEO? Including, let's talk about the rapid transformation of SEO. Yesterday versus today versus tomorrow. All right, so when ChatGPT came out, I think back in November of last year, I truly had another Google moment. So I was alive when I was actually in school getting my marketing and business degree, when my teacher told me, hey, I found this. It's a search engine. It's called Google. Well, back then it was actually called Backrub, but they just incorporated as Google. And he said, this is amazing. It's going to transform the world. That's how I got into SEO. So I had a Google moment. I saw how this tool, will change society. Everything that we do, right, has changed with the internet and applications or tools like Google. So when I heard about ChatGPT, I'm like, wow, everything is going to change. And I am thrilled about this change. So ChatGPT is now feeding on a large language model. It's basically a massive set of data called GPT-4. Incredible amount of data, and that allows it, along with its technology, to create things like blog posts, have conversations with us, etc. So it's nearly indistinguishable from how humans write, but it's not truly AI, and I'll talk about this in a second. So what is AI? It's a science of training machines to perform human tasks, okay? Applies machine learning, deep learning, and other techniques. However, what we're probably going to get to over the next, I would say, potentially 5 to 10 years is called AGI, Artificial General Intelligence. That's a point where I think we need to be a little bit scared, but hopefully also a little bit excited, because that's the point where these machines can perform intellectual tasks that a human can perform. So basically, it can think like a human. At that point, I think the content that these tools spit out will be good enough to rank in Google and other search engines if they still exist by then. But this is truly the point where AI exists and will take us to way different levels than what we can imagine right now. Let's briefly talk about NLP, natural language processing. Refers to the branch of computer science, and more specifically, the branch of AI concerned with giving computers the ability to understand text and spoken words in much the same way humans beings can. So NLP, you're going to hear that term over and over as AI progresses in the near future. Really quick look here at Google and AI. So they were way at the forefront when this whole AI stuff started to emerge. October 26, 2015, they introduced RankBrain. It's algorithm that was fed by AI, and they're actually way ahead of the game, but they were beat by OpenAI, the company that owns ChatGPT. So naturally, it was a red flag for them, right? They were caught off guard by this new tool, but they're still the leader, in my opinion, when it comes to AI and search. Daniel, we're going to talk about the EEAT algorithm update. That's critically important if you want to rank in Google's new search generative experience. Then the BERT algorithm update was a big milestone where Google was able to understand context better. And then the MUM algorithm update, that was a big AI update where Google is now able to pull information from various different sources, platforms, medias, etc. Basically, what we're seeing now with these chatbots, ChatGPT, BART, etc. So that's the technology that lays below, underneath these, what we're seeing now with these chatbots, etc. All right. I'm sure everybody's familiar with the hockey stick effect term. I mean, this is what's happening with AI. It's happening so fast. We're in it for a wild ride. Things are going to change so dramatically. Every month, every day, nearly every hour, there's like a new development in AI. So it's hard to condense everything, to comprehend everything. That's what we're trying to do here. So we'll keep you posted about upcoming webinars and new findings that we'll discover. All right, I'm sure many of you remember the slogan by Apple. There's an app for it. There's going to be an AI for that. Everything that we're going to do is going to be driven by AI. So if you're an agency, if you're an SEO agency or a business for that matter, I would look for ways how you can incorporate AI in every single process. Everything that you do, it's going to give you a massive competitive advantage. All right. Let's talk about the elephant in the room. Daniel, will AI-generated content rank in Google search?
We have done a lot of tests, and for a fact, we know that at the present moment, no, it does not get ranked.
Correct. So all that these chatbots do, they're feeding on existing data out there, right? And they're just spinning content. I mean, they're really good at putting great content together, sentences, but it's not groundbreaking new content, right? We're not at the AGI stage where these chatbots can actually think about, oh, this is actually a problem. Oh, let me think about how to solve it, right? All it does, it like spins existing content that it feeds on out there. So we took the time to create, I would say, a really good piece of content at the end of last year. What are small business SEO packages, and how do I choose the best package for my company in 2023? At the bottom, there's the link to this blog post. I'll send you guys the link to these slides, so no need to write this down. But basically, we used SE Ranking's content editor tool. By the way, SE Ranking, our favorite SEO tool. I have a slide at the end where you can sign up for a month-long free trial, no credit card required. We use this tool to do a SERP analysis, a search engine results pages analysis. Then it also helps create an outline of what this piece of content should look like. So normally when we create content for our clients, we don't use these chatbots, right? But that's what I did. So we had a great outline. And then I used ChatGPT to fill in each and every section. Then I went ahead, I manually edited every section. Actually, it took a long time, I think 4 hours to edit. I think it's a 3,000 word blog post. And then I ran it through Grammarly to make sure, everything sounds okay, it's correct from a grammatical standpoint, and then published it. Guess what happened? This is actually really cool, and I'm so happy that this piece of content is not ranking. So we published it on December, I think 30th last year. Look at that. So initially there was a little bump. It got a little bit of attention from Google, but this is what happened ever since. So Google clearly understands that this is a more or less AI generated piece of content. So I'm very thrilled that Google is able to detect low quality content. All right, let's quickly talk about some terms that you should be familiar with. Lambda and GPT-4. So those are large language models. I'm not going to read everything, but basically Lambda sits below Bard, which is the competitive product of Google that they're trying to challenge ChatGPT. So it's a massive database of content where these tools feed on, right? So that basically the more high quality content, the better the output. Obviously, the better the algorithm, the way these tools are written, the better the output, right? So it's all about having access to massive amounts of content. So Google, naturally, they're the biggest, owner of content. I think they're going to win this game down the road. Google Bard versus ChatGPT and other popular chatbots. Very similar. Right now, I do prefer ChatGPT for certain tasks, but then I'm already figuring out other tasks that I like Bard better. There are many, many AI chatbots now available out there, including, oh my God, I don't know if you guys use Snapchat, but they have the little AI friend now. That thing is creepy and it lies. It actually lies. So be careful with, what these tools spit out. You cannot trust them 100% right now. So always do your research and double check everything. That's my recommendation. Google Magi, that's actually the name of the project for Google's new search generative experience that we're going to take a look here in a second. It's still in the very early stages of development, but I think truly it has the potential to be, it's going to change search as we know it. I do like it already, although we're still at the beginning of, experiencing what the new search is going to look like. But this is basically the project that powers the new search experience. Whew, all right, so let's next we're going to take a look at the new search experience. Are there any questions about this relatively long intro that we gave here? Let's quickly take a look at chat. Let me see. All right. Okay, perfect. Why don't we do, I'm going to grab a keyword here. Christine, Colorado distillery, and then also children books. So we're going to go into the new search experience. This is what it looks like. Let me close. So I'm actually going to go into incognito mode, so it doesn't take my previous browser history into account. All right, once you have been led into the labs experience, this little thing will show up next to your face here in Google. You have to be signed in with the account that you are trying to get access to. Then, as you can see here, this is the first thing that has changed compared to the old Google. Try AI-powered overviews when you search. So it's going to give you a little, hey, test this, right? So why don't we do this? Colorado distillery. Well, it's 5 o'clock somewhere, right? Let's see. Okay, so as you can see here, this is now basically Project Magi. Colorado has many distilleries, including Breckenridge Distillery. Actually, I toured that distillery. It was a blast. Then there's a list here. So check this out. Do you see this little icon over here? Actually, let's take a look at this first. All right, so Google right now, or Google Magi, will show 3 listings where they are grabbing the content from. However, there are more. Look at this. So it's actually grabbing information that produces this content from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 pages on the internet. How can we find out what content is coming from where? Right here, we click on that. So basically, Google used these websites to create this piece of content. Let's see if we can, let's click on this listing here. Okay, so if you click on a specific page that's been cited, usually Google will highlight where it grabbed the information from. In this case, not. I'll show you another example in a second. So let's go back to our experience. Then now we're back in the old Google, right? It's the local map pack, but as you can see, this is being pushed down. So it's all about creating high quality content that Google may display in relation to this search term. And I'll show you an example that we tested, and we actually got into the generative experience. Let's go back here. So you can ask a follow-up question or simply use one of these, I would say, frequently asked questions. You know, is there a Colorado whiskey? In fact, yes, there are many. And they're actually pretty good. Whenever I go back home to Switzerland, my brother loves whiskey. I bring him back some whiskey. So you can really, engage with this thing. So now we're in the conversational mode. You can see here, this will take us back to search. And now, how much do they cost? So you can really engage with this tool and really dig deep. And then obviously, it's going to show products. I think it's going to be very helpful in finding exactly what you're looking for via this conversational aspect. Okay, so let's go back to search here. And then again, here's the local map pack. Google knows I signed in, although I'm in incognito mode. I signed in, so it's showing me places near me. And then this is basically the old Google. Why don't we do children's books? I think that was the search term. Let's do that. Look at that. Interesting. So Google doesn't think that you could benefit from an AI-powered overview for the search, right? So it's just showing the regular Google interface. But let's click on it. Let's generate. And obviously this is stuff, right, that they have to figure out until the end of the year. What are people exactly looking for? Are they looking for an AI generated, piece of content here? So they're going to test this with millions of people. But so far, I really like it. Let me quickly show you. So we are, this is one of the target SEO keywords. So we created this pretty in-depth guide. Let me show you something. Obviously, Google is showing the AI generated content here. This is the piece of content that it grabbed from our guide. Sadly, we're not in the top 3. So we're going to have to work on that, right? Analyze the answer here. But this is basically our guide. And you can see now, oh man, something already changed. So yesterday, it basically highlighted where it grabbed the content from that's being shown in the the generative experience there. All right. Let me see. Are there any search terms that I should plug in there? Is that part of the by ad spend? Let's get to that later. Are there any other search terms that you want me to plug in there? No. All right, so already getting close to the end of this presentation. So this is basically the new experience. Again, sign up for it, make sure you get access. It's going to be a competitive advantage if you also do SEO.
Chris, I'm going to make a quick comment on that search page real quick, if you want to go back to that. Something that comes to mind when you're making this presentation is that, now we're looking at a search result that was composed and compiled by Google, right? And they are picking and choosing pieces from different, websites that are listed on the top 3 there. It's really interesting because now, Google is always moving forward and trying to evolve to present the best information possible. And they actually pick and choose pieces of content from these websites that are showcased on the right is because they truly believe that this is a piece of content that is quality, right? And it's really going in that direction of, moving more and more in the direction of quality content in relation to a lot of other things that were important back in the days that are not as important anymore. It's really, all moving in that quality direction.
Oh yeah. I mean, the thing is they have figured out content, right? They not only can these tools produce high quality content, these tools can also detect high quality content, right? Everything has changed with ChatGPT and Bard emerging and, Google updating its algorithm. I mean, it's all about high quality content. and as we'll talk about, your EEAT score. So we'll talk about this in just a second here. But this is basically the new search experience. Up here, you'll see they also have added more filters. Immediately you can converse, right? There's like off page, etc., etc. So I predict things will continue to change dramatically, but we'll see how that goes. All right, let's head back to our presentation here. Okay, so let's talk about which SEO strategies do we need to focus on and which ones do we need to ditch. Let's briefly talk about the ones that we need to ditch. So if you're still doing SEO with a gray hat or a black hat on, don't do it. These systems are now so powerful. Anything that you do where you're going to try to game the system, they're going to catch you. They're going to be relentless in banning your website from their database. I mean, Google, I think they had it. They're spending a lot of money indexing content in massive server farms, right? It's costing them millions, if not billions of dollars. So if you don't adhere to Google's webmaster guidelines, your site will potentially get banned from their index, which could be detrimental to a business. So just, don't do anything that's, gives you a bad feeling in your stomach. Then what should you be doing? And I'll add the link to, the pages here that you see at the end of the screenshots here. Google launched the helpful content update. I think it was back in November, October of last year. Basically, this is exactly step-by-step instructions on how you need to create content that will have a chance to rank at the top in Google. All right. So Google's automated ranking systems, they are designed to present helpful, reliable information that's primarily created to benefit people, not to gain search engine rankings. That's what it's all about. I'm not going to talk about each and everything on here, but I do recommend that you read these guidelines by Google.
And then, Chris, before you move on, I wanted to make one comment on this page, which is really important. And it's something that we do internally, which is to understand. A lot of times it's hard to know what to do, but sometimes it's easier to understand what you're doing wrong and why you're getting penalized. And one of the tools that we use is in looking at Search Console. Anytime that there is a Google algorithm update and a page gets penalized, right? We look at that page and we get that page, and then we start asking those content and quality questions to understand what is it about that page that might not be following one of those questions. And usually going through that exercise will give you the answers of what is it and why did that page get penalized? Is it something that we're doing wrong? Is it something that we're not doing? So that's really a powerful tool to understand what's happening to your site and what you can do differently to start, doing more and more of the helpful, reliable, and people-first content that Google's asking for.
Exactly. And I think in our next webinar, it's probably going to be in like 6 weeks to 2 months. We're going to dissect, we're going to dive deep into looking at, how to create this kind of content. We're also going to run content through SE Rankings, one-page auditor, which gives us so much information. It really is it's a lot of hard work, but this is what it takes if you want to show up at the top in Google. And hard work pays off. All right. Again, you're going to get the slides. You're also going to get the link to this information that I'm showing you here. But a quick question. What about SEO? Isn't that search engine first? Well, in a way, right? But not if you're not trying to game the system. We're actually following Google's own SEO guide. Google has become very forthcoming with information They tell you exactly what you need to do. I mean, they have figured it out, right? Now it's like, hey, why don't we let these people know how to create content that, you know, we may show at the top in our search engine. So SEO has changed completely from, I got into SEO about 25 years ago. Oh my God, you could, you know, get to the top by buying a ton of links, right? That was the only ranking signal back then. Things have changed. It's all about content, right? High quality content that serves a purpose. All right, Daniel, I know this is one of your favorite topics. Let's talk about EEAT. What is EEAT?
So EEAT stands for experience, expertise, authoritativeness, and trustworthiness. And all four of these are factors, with the most important one right now, at least, being trust. Trust is the most important one. And what is EAT? Well, EAT is essentially Google's way to understand that the piece of content that is being created is really being created by someone, or the piece of content itself has four things. It's being written by someone who has experience in the industry. They truly have expertise in the industry. They know what they're talking about. They have, authoritativeness, and they're trustworthy, right? One of the things that we talk a lot about internally here is that in the direction that things are moving, we keep talking about content. Content is important. Content is the quality of the content. The reliability of the content is important. And we're going to get to a point where there's going to be so much good quality content on the internet that Google then at that point is going to have to start using the EAT score of that content, which includes not only the quality of the content itself, but the expertise, authoritativeness of the author of that, piece of content. So, in looking forward, one of the things that we're working with our clients, and one of the things that we really think needs to be something that's done now, is making sure that you as a person, or you as the owner, is creating your own EAT score, increasing your expertise level. And there's a whole ways, there's a variety of ways to do that. And, Chris can talk about some of those in a little bit. And then applying those, how do you, in addition to building your EAT score, apply that EAT score into pieces of content that are going to be really valuable? It's really when you write a piece of content, thinking about these three buckets, right? The three buckets, number one being who is it being written by? Again, your EAT score. What's your expertise? What's your involvement? What's the trustworthiness of the content that you create? Number two, when you create a piece of content, is how is that piece of content being created? Was this generated by AI? Was this done by extensive research? Was this a collaboration by different writers bringing in different aspects? And then the number three, which is probably the most important, is why was this piece of content created, right? If you're just creating random content to be posted on the website for no specific reason, that doesn't play as much as a piece of content that's specifically created to help answer a question from visitors to that website, right? If you're trying to educate them on a specific product, if you're trying to help them make a good decision on which direction to go when doing one thing or another, or so forth. So really, these three pieces, the who, which is really comes down to the EAT, level, EAT level, the how this is being created, which we're talking about AI versus not AI, and bringing experts to write this thing, and why this piece of content is being created. Is there a place and a reason that this piece of content exists? When all of these things come together, I think it's our belief, at least, that this is what's going to make a piece of content and a website and an author stand apart from anyone else, giving them a much better opportunity to show up in this new real estate that Google's now testing.
Yeah, very nice summary, Daniel. Very well done. Cool. All right, so let's dive a little bit deeper, and obviously we don't have enough time to dive too deep here, but what's the future of SEO? That SEO packages guide that I just showed you, that shows up for the keyword SEO services packages. Check this out. So these are the 4 keywords that we chose to optimize this packages guide for. Check this out. It's already ranking for 100 plus, relevant, closely related keywords, and we're making our way up to the very top. we're a small boutique agency. I tell you, a lot of other SEO agencies are optimizing for this keyword. Hundreds, if not thousands, right? To get even that high, position 4, 5, 6, 7, it's really hard, right? But what helped is like the EAT that I personally bring to the table, been doing this forever, speaking globally, etc. So that's a really a competitive advantage that anybody can work on, that we help our clients with. We do a lot of digital PR, etc., etc. This is what it takes to get up there. All right. It's all about creating helpful, reliable content with building your EAT score. All right. Daniel, we deploy micro-SEO strategies for our clients. In a nutshell, what are we looking for when we take on a new client?
So a micro strategy in a nutshell is looking at a website, and not necessarily looking at the website as a whole, but going in and looking at what pages of the website have really good opportunities, right? Let's say, when we look for a page to apply a micro strategy on, we're looking for a few things. We're looking for a page that's really relevant, right? It's a page that you want to generate traffic for, that it has low-hanging fruit keywords, meaning that there's already a really good keyword that you want to rank for, that you are ranking for, but not on page 1, maybe on the bottom of page 1, page 2, page 3. Why is that important? Because when you have already that keyword ranking in that position, it's much easier for us to do a campaign and move that up to the top of page 1 in a short period of time. And it's always great in, in SEO when you could see results in a shorter period of time. And then once we understand that's the page and it's got a lot of potential by having low-hanging fruit opportunities, then we apply a micro strategy. What is a micro strategy? Well, we essentially get that page and we look at the topic of that page. And then we say, okay, let's get this page and let's turn it into the ultimate resource of information, or the ultimate guide, or the ultimate information page about that specific keyword or that specific term. So what we do is we go out and we do a manual SERP analysis. We'll put in that keyword on Google. We're going to look at the top 2 pages. So page 1, page 2 of Google. We're going to open up all of those sites that are ranking high. And then we're going to do an audit of what sections and what pieces of information each one of these sites have. And with that, we create what we call the ultimate outline, right? So we're creating a piece of content that is going to be better than every other piece of content on pages 1 and 2. Then once that's built, we add other things in there that we know work, like frequently asked questions and, feeding reviews into there. Once that structure is done, what Chris is showing you here is we go through and we create now a wireframe. What is this page going to look like? How are we going to best organize? This is really, really important, because bounce rate on that page is really important, right? If people get to that page, they look at it, they turn back around, that really hurts you. So we want to make sure that we get this amount of information and we put it in a format that's very, number one, storytelling like. We want people to go from the top to the bottom of the page consuming this information, and it's very digestible, right? We want to make sure that there's elements in there, visual elements, white space, that makes it easy. We don't want to do a big block of text on there. Once we have this wireframe, that's when our writers come in. Sometimes our writers will run with it and write this whole piece of information. Some websites are a little bit more technical, or some owners of websites want to be a little bit more involved. So there's a much more cooperative, approach. We work with a lot of other agencies, so a lot of times the agencies bring in writers and involved. But the idea is this is going to be created by a writer. This is going to be created by a writer who either has expertise on the subject matter or is coordinating with experts to bring in that information that is really going to be truly the best piece of information about that subject matter. And then once we actually create this page, we launch this page, then we do a lot of post-launch activities to help promote.
Hey, Daniel, let me quickly show an example right here. So we got them to rank number 1 for the keyword best pour spouts, right? This is an example of a micro strategy. As you can see, very comprehensive guide with, infographics, a lot of information, visuals, what not. Look at this. We're hoping that this page is going to rank number 1 at the top in Google, and it does. and I think deservingly so. As you can see, this was a lot of work, but it's doing really well in Google for obvious reasons.
And
Danny,
something really interesting,
Mhm.
really interesting about that page is that page, and these guys are not a huge company, right? They're really
Yeah.
kind of focused. And we are always competing on that number 1, 2, 3 position against Walmart and Amazon. And many times
Yeah.
we're above Amazon. And we always use this example as well to say micro-strategies really work because it's an ability for you, even as a small website. If you have a piece of content that's better than anybody else's piece of content out there, small websites can outrank big websites by creating that type of content.
Yeah. Exactly. Let's quickly, I think we're already nearly over time, but basically the process, humans have to create the content. Yeah, we can use tools like, ChatGPT, SE ranking to help with the outline, but it has to be human created. Run it through Grammarly, then the team gets to work. That's us right there. A lot of steps are involved, and then we publish that piece of content. And then Daniel, as you already mentioned, there's a lot of other tasks involved that then follow once we have that piece of content published. There are off-page things that we're going to do. We're not going to dive too deep into this list here. Again, you're going to get a copy of the slides, but it's basically, usually anywhere from like 30 to 60 tasks that we have to do as part of a micro strategy. But as you saw, the results are pretty remarkable. We're able to get even content from smaller websites to outrank dinosaurs like Amazon, Target, Walmart, etc. This is an example of our own micro strategy, the SEO packages guide. As you can see there, put a lot of effort and work into creating this. And, I think rightfully so, it ranks very nicely at the top in Google. That being said, if you want to learn more about these micro strategies, we're going to share templates, basically step by step how to do this stuff. Make sure sign up for the SEO half-day course in Denver next week. My colleague Jeff Benz will be sending you a follow-up email with a little discount code. So wait until you get that code if you want to join us. That being said, if you want to test SE ranking, right there is the URL, seranking.com/bolder SEO marketing. .html. They're going to have to update that. It's a month-long free trial. Boom, we are a little bit over time. If you have to bolt, we'll send you the link to the recording and the slides. But I'd love to take some questions here. If there are any questions, I think I'm gonna stop sharing the screen.
And I have a question for Mary here, but even before Mary, I'll answer the question right in a minute, but I just wanted to make one last comment. We talked a lot about things that work and things that we do. And just, one of the questions I get all the time is, should we start producing content with AI? And we said no. So a couple things to keep in mind of things that you shouldn't do, right? And there's a whole bunch, but 2 of them. And we've done these tests and they don't work. And there's a way for you to test them and see if they're working or not take our word for it. But, creating pieces of content that are just fully AI generated, ChatGPT, create a blog post about this, boom, 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 putting on your website. You can do that. But what I would say is go to Google Search Console, and hopefully you have Google Search Console on there. And then you can see if that page, number 1, even got indexed by Google. And if it got indexed, if it's showing you any impressions. And the other thing, and the reason I like to say this is because for years, SEO agencies have always done the packages of we'll do package 1, 2, 3, and we'll do 5 blog posts, 10 blog posts, 15 blog posts, which was really a matter of creating essentially low quality pieces of content and putting it on the website. If that's what you've been doing in the past, or is that what you're still doing, I would just say go to Google Search Console. Search for those specific blog posts on there and see what kind of traction you're getting. Because if you see that they're in a bucket called crawled but not indexed, or another bucket called discovered but not indexed, that's essentially Google telling you this is bad content that we're not going to index anymore. So it's probably a good kind of reminder for you to say, it's probably, all of this stuff that we've been doing for a lot of years doesn't work anymore. And this is when you really have to start thinking about not creating 5, 10 pieces of content on a monthly basis, but really focusing on creating one amazing piece of content, following a lot of the, tactics that, Chris talked about. So Google Search Console, it's very important that you guys have access to it. Look at it, because that'll tell you exactly how well your, content is performing.
Actually, let me, so I saw a great question from Kristen Erickson.
Yep.
If I-generated content is not ranking Google, why are so many organizations now using that to create their content? How is this helping their business if it's not ranking? Love that question. Not every content needs to rank in Google, right? Sometimes, I mean, if you put it up on your website, ideally you want it to rank, right? But maybe it's a piece that you want to promote through to your email list, etc. It does not necessarily need to rank. So there's definitely a place for that, right? Where you just want to promote it through email marketing, social media. It's going to have a very short shelf life because it's not going to rank in Google. So I would say, figure out how to make these tools use for you. There's absolutely, a place and time to create content that does not necessarily need to rank in Google. I hope that answers your question.
I have a question for Mary here, Chris. Do the websites Google BART sources from info from, do they rise in terms of ranking on the results list?
That is a great question. I would think so. Obviously, I don't know, but they're looking for high quality content. So I think if you make it into that generative search experience, I do think that will potentially, if not right now, potentially when they launch that tool globally, you may see a boost of those pages on your website. Let me see. Ruth, any free tool capable to detect if the text are yeah. Okay. So sorry, let me read the question again. Is there a free tool capable to detect if the text is generated by basically a chatbot? So I teach part of a master's degree for the University of Strasbourg in France. My students have to create a search engine optimized blog post that follows Google's helpful content guidelines. A tool that I can recommend is GPT-0, spelled out GPT-0. But man, my wife is also, she's back in school. She writes content. And I ran a piece of content that she wrote. It's a very academic paper through that tool. It told me it was like 100% AI generated. So I think eventually these tools will do a good job. But right now, I'm also paying for a tool to check if it's AI generated. I would say they're not that good right now. I also created content through ChatGPT and then asked Google Bard, hey, is this generated by AI? They're not doing a really good job right now. So unfortunately, I cannot give a very good recommendation at this point, but I'm sure, as this stuff matures, we're going to see tools that are actually working way better. Yeah, I hope this answers your question, but I check GPT-0. That's the tool that I would recommend. All right, we are nearly 10 minutes over. I think most everybody stayed on. Let me see. Are there any other questions, Daniel?
Not on my side. I think we've answered them all. Thank you, Emma. Thank you, Mary, for your comments. I think this was a pretty good presentation.
Yeah, and again, so I love doing this stuff. Like, if you do a search for international SEO expert, you should see my personal website at the very top. So I speak globally. If you're in Europe, I'm going to speak in, I think, Copenhagen in September. So make sure to keep in touch. We're probably going to do another webinar in like 4 to 6 weeks here. This stuff is evolving hourly. Appreciate the positive feedback. Again, my colleague Jeff Benz will be following up with a message here with a little discount code. Join us if you can. It's exciting to be at the forefront of, you know, figuring out how this stuff works. And yeah, things are changing. We're all in this together. Let's figure it out. Join us again next time if you can. I'm going to stop the recording here, but Daniel, why don't we stand online a little bit longer?
Sounds like a plan.
If I can figure out how to stop there we go. I'm going to pause the record.